This morning, Texas Democrats are dueling over whether President Biden should remain in the race. What does the Biden campaign need to do right now to get the attention off the president's debate performance, off the president's age, and back on the issues? Can that even be done? Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett defends Biden. State Rep Ron Reynolds, though, tells us a younger candidate could energize his party. State Senator Brian Hughes breaks some news with us this morning, announcing changes that he wants to make to the state's strict abortion law. The U.S. Supreme Court did not rule it unconstitutional, but said a Texas law that prevents users from getting booted off social media, it needs another look. State Rep Brisco Kane authored it and takes our questions about what will happen next. And Republicans are going into their national convention next week with a lot of momentum. We'll talk about the role that Texas delegates might play.
Inside Texas Politics with Jason Whiteley starts now.
Good Sunday morning. I'm Jason Whiteley. A lot to get to here this morning. Let's start with the headlines. State leaders are doubling down right now on adding more electricity to the Texas grid. By the end of the decade, ERCOT says Texas is going to need twice as much power as we generate right now. So Governor Abbott and Lieutenant Governor Patrick also want to double the amount of money in a state fund. That fund helps companies build new plants. It's called the Texas Energy Fund. Voters approved it last fall, and it makes loans to companies to build new natural gas power plants. Next week, the Republican National Convention, it kicks off in Milwaukee. Texas is sending 161 delegates. National conventions are when parties formally nominate their candidates. Donald Trump clearly has it locked up. The question now, though, who will be his pick for vice presidential nominee? And a Texas judge denied Ken Paxton's attempt to close a popular shelter for migrants in El Paso. Attorney General Paxton accused the Annunciation House of human smuggling. For decades, it has helped and housed asylum seekers. A judge in El Paso rejected Paxton's argument, leaving the doors open at the Annunciation House, and Paxton's next move remains uncertain. Let's start this morning, though, with the elephant in the room, the big dilemma for Democrats right now. Congressman Lloyd Doggett from Austin called on President Joe Biden to withdraw from the presidential race. Former HUD Secretary Julian Castro said a younger Democrat would have a better shot at beating Donald Trump in November. But Democratic leaders and Dallas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett say all this talk is nothing but distracting for the party in an already close and contentious race. Congresswoman, good to see you again. What's your first reaction to this? Because the calls are growing louder. We started with Ron Reynolds from the state legislature in Houston. Now we have Lloyd Doggett, congressman from Austin. What do you think is going to happen now with President Biden?
Something tells me that President Biden wasn't sitting around waiting on Ron Reynolds nor Lloyd Doggett to tell him what to do. So I absolutely think that everyone needs to calm down. You know, the problem is that Democrats are afraid of their own shadow, right? Here it is, no Republican nor Democrat has called for Trump to go anywhere once he had his initially 90-something counts, reduced to 80-something felony counts, and even after he was convicted. You know, the Republicans are standing by their man. The fact that Democrats are so scared of their own shadow and won't just stand up and say, hey, he's got a record to run on, and it's a very strong record, we stand with him, is absolutely ridiculous.
You said that Democrats are scared of their own shadow.
Yeah.
Democrats talking about this, though, just take the focus off the race itself and off
Correct.
the issues.
Correct.
What should happen here then? This is your party.
It's terrible strategy, right? Like, I mean, the question, you know, it's kind of like people used to say, who needs enemies when you've got friends like this? Like, that's kind of how I'm feeling right now, right? Because literally with the Supreme Court coming down with such a horrific decision the other day, the idea that we're not focusing in on the real issues. The real issue is that this is Donald Trump's Supreme Court, a Supreme Court that he wants to make even worse. He wants to have two of the Supreme Court justices step down so that he can then appoint two more for a lifetime appointment. That should scare everyone out of their mind, and regardless of whether or not they believe the president performed well or not, they should at least say, I know that this guy will not give us more of what we've been getting, and I know that at least some of our freedoms won't be on the chopping block. Like, we have significant issues, and the fact that people want to say, well, 90 minutes, it was awful, and so we're going to throw it all away is absolutely crazy to me.
What do you think is going to happen at the convention? Do you think there'll be a floor fight at all over a nominee?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
You think it'll be just a regular convention?
I don't know if it's going to be regular, but I don't think that there will be a floor fight. I mean, what fight is there to have? He has all of, I think it was one random place that he didn't get.
He
has
all the
delegates. He has all the delegates
yeah.
except for like one or something. I mean, like, who's going to fight with them? Like, nobody else has anything.
What does the Biden campaign need to do right now to get the attention off the president's debate performance, off the president's age, and back on the issues? Can that even be done?
I don't even know that the Biden campaign needs to do anything to do that. I think that we need to have a family meeting in the House, though. I think that that's what needs to take place because, again, you're talking about Lloyd Doggett. That is a House member, obviously not someone that falls right there within the Biden-Harris campaign. We need to talk about a path forward, and that path forward looks like unity, something that Nancy Pelosi has always said, that we are stronger when we're unified, and it's absolutely true. The real enemy is MAGA, and that's what we need to focus in on. And as I've said, as I've been out on the campaign trail before the debate, and I'll continue to say after the debate, what you're doing is you're supposed to focus on yourself. You're supposed to vote for the policies that will better your life. It never should have been about the name per se, because ultimately he needs a full team. You can't just go out and say, I'm going to vote for president. I need you voting all the way up and down the ballot if we're going to get something done. And you need to evaluate, what does this team stand for? What is this team going to deliver? And ultimately, we have systems in place. If for some reason our president is unable to serve, we know that there is a vice president that is ready and willing and able to serve.
Congressman, good to see you.
Good to see you too.
One of the first Texas Democrats to call for Biden to step aside is State Rep Ron Reynolds after watching the president's disastrous first debate. He is chair of the Texas Legislative Black Caucus, and he's a Democrat who represents parts of Fort Bend County just outside Houston. Chairman Reynolds, good to see you again here. A simple question to start out with. Can Joe Biden win in November?
He can win. Certainly the polls have tightened. His debate performance, I mean, I'm not going to try to mislead anybody, was not stellar at all. It was, as most would say, it was a train wreck. But still, Joe Biden has the policies that the majority of Americans favor. Particularly, one of the biggest ones that we're facing is democracy and a woman's freedom to choose bodily autonomy. Abortion is on the ballot.
I've got to ask you about what you posted to Instagram after the debate, though. You said you were very disturbed and you firmly believe Democrats need to replace President Biden with Vice President Harris on there. You're a delegate to the Democratic National Convention next month in Chicago. Do you expect there could be a floor fight over a nominee?
If we decide that we're going to change horses, I think that if we did it at the convention, I think we would have sufficient time to get behind our Democratic nominee and our new ticket. And in my opinion, it could energize. You take away age as a factor on the ballot. You take away some of the other weaknesses that President Biden has. And I want to emphasize this, Jason. I think President Biden has done a phenomenal job of taking our country from the brink after COVID to resilience, lowest unemployment numbers in decades, stabilizing our economy, doing so many things to bring confidence back, investing in HBCUs and public education, the infrastructure dollars. He's done so much for this country. So I don't want to diminish President Biden, right, but I am, just like the polls say, about close to 70% of the country is concerned about his age and fitness. That is a real concern. So we have to be candid. And I think that many Democrats like myself are really grappling with it.
Let me ask you one last question here, too. Do you think President Biden should debate a second time?
Ooh, I'm mixed emotions about that. I think that on one hand, I want to see him redeem himself. And on the other hand, I'm concerned about a repeat. So I have mixed emotions about it. I would like to say if he was able to perhaps debate earlier in the day or had more rest, then I would say yes. So it depends. Put me in the category. I hate to punt the question, but it depends on how the president was feeling. I certainly don't want to put him in the position that he was in recently. That would not be in the best interest of the president nor this country.
Representative, we appreciate the time, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Jason.
Republican State Senator Brian Hughes and Republican State Rep Brisco Kane are up next with us when Inside Texas Politics returns. Welcome back to Inside Texas Politics. Now to a brand new development in the state's strict abortion law. The legislator who wrote it tells us that it does need some clarification. State Senator Brian Hughes represents parts of East Texas and first takes our questions about IVF, in vitro fertilization. Senator, it's good to see you again here on the program. You authored the heartbeat bill in the state here, too. There's a push among some Republicans nationwide and in Congress especially to ban in vitro fertilization. Do you expect the Texas legislature would consider something like that next year?
I don't. Every time we passed a pro-life bill over the last 20 years in Texas, that includes the heartbeat bill that I carried, every pro-life bill we have passed has specifically carved out in vitro fertilization. That's people who are trying to have children. And so there are always going to be developments on how it's done ethically. Those are always going to come up. But a ban on in vitro fertilization will not be going anywhere. I don't know if anyone's going to file one, but don't expect that to move anywhere in the Texas legislature. I will say we carried a bill last session to make it clear that when a mom has a medical emergency, when her life is threatened, when she has a major bodily function that's in jeopardy because of a problem pregnancy, that mom does have the option of going forward with an abortion if she wants to. We've always put that in Texas law, but you've seen the stories. There have been some physicians and some hospitals that were not allowing that. Even when a mom had an ectopic pregnancy, little baby's not going to make it, and then the mom's in jeopardy. And some doctors and hospitals were refusing to treat even that. We passed a bill last year to make it clear in an ectopic pregnancy, in a situation like that, if the mom's life is in danger or health's in danger, then that's an exception.
Yeah, let me ask you about that, because there are some doctors who are afraid that they'll be prosecuted under the Texas law if they decide to conduct an abortion for a mom whose life is in jeopardy. What type of tweaks do you see to that?
Some hospitals and doctors are spooked. And so we passed a bill, House Bill 3058, last session to further clarify that. And that we may need to do that again, because if the mom's life is in danger, the life of the mother has always been an exception in Texas. You can go back to the Texas abortion laws from the 1800s, and the life of the mother has always been protected, always been that exception. So yes, so we may need to clarify that language just to make sure. We don't want to give doctors or hospitals any excuse not to help those moms in those situations.
Let's zoom out and talk about the next legislative session come January here. Top two issues facing lawmakers. What do you think they are?
The border continues to be just indescribable, right? We've had a border crisis for so long. We don't even know what to call it now. Now,
but there are fewer people coming across right now. You think the border is still paramount?
Well, what Texas is doing is working. You've seen that. There are fewer people crossing in Texas. They're going to Arizona. They're going somewhere else. So that's obviously, we got to keep doing what we're doing. We're finally getting ahead of that one. And then property taxes, right? We had a significant property tax cut last session. We have to keep doing that. Man, with this inflation, we have to do everything we can to help people, real people who are trying to buy groceries and trying to pay their bills. Over the last two sessions, we finally got the increase slowed down quite a bit. And then last session, for the first time, a decrease. We stopped them from growing so fast, and then we were able to decrease them. This session, we're looking at another good budget surplus, because the people of Texas are working hard, the economy's strong, and so a lot of that needs to go for more property tax relief. So yes, reducing those property taxes some more. So those are obviously going to be big deals that people care about and need to get done next session.
Senator, it's good to see you again. Thank you for the time.
Thanks for having me.
The U.S. Supreme Court dealt a blow to Texas Republicans in a decision the other day. 3 years ago, just after January 6th, Republicans here in this state passed a law in the legislature to stop social media companies from kicking people off their platforms. Justices didn't strike that Texas law down, but they told lower courts to take another look at it. State Rep Brisco Kane, a Republican from Harris County, wrote that bill, and he took our call from Houston. Representative Kane, it's good to see you back on the program. The conservative court here sidestepped this decision. Why do you think that is?
Look, this is it's an evolving area of law dealing with technology and free speech. Look, what this bill really sought to do is to prevent things that are carrying messages from discriminating. So we already do that in law. We've got your telephone companies, of course, your railroads, but those companies that send mail and postal, the private entities, those are all common carriers. Believe that large social media companies are common carriers. But again, this is a new area. They may have sidestepped it. I wouldn't say that it was a good thing for us. In fact, I kind of took it as a small setback, even though it's coming back down. But it gives us a chance to continue to work on this and get it right.
Well, do you expect that you might tweak this next legislative session? And if so, how maybe?
Yeah, certainly that'd be the goal. So even in crafting the Texas version, we looked at what Florida did wrong. Florida's was actually already tied up in courts. We avoided those issues, but we might have some others. So, but either way, I'm still hopeful that Texas will prevail. The entire idea was to do it right.
I've talked to Republicans and Democrats who both are not sure if there are enough votes yet to actually pass school choice. What do you think?
I think they all kind of learned from something. So far, we've seen at least 3 members who have returned that were on the other side of school choice, now pledging their support for it. So I think things are turning in the right direction, and everyone doesn't want to go back through what they just went through. I think Governor Abbott did a damn fine job at speaking and showing that Texas is going to pass school choice.
Does Dade Phelan get reelected?
I do not believe that Dade Phelan may be reelected at this point. Look, I'll say, I think Dade Phelan is a nice guy. I don't have anything personally against him. I actually think he's a conservative. But I do think that the time has come that reform needs to come to the Texas House, and that includes the speakership.
All right, Representative Kane, good to see you.
Thanks, Chase. Bye-bye.
The roundtable is ready when we come back here on Inside Texas Politics.
This is Inside Texas Politics with Jason Whiteley.
All right, time now for Reporters Roundtable to put the headlines in perspective. Joining us this week is Bud Kennedy from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. Ashley Godot is a political director at KVUE in Austin. Bernadine Steptoe, political producer at WFAA in Dallas. It's tough to believe here, Bud, but we are 1 week away from the Republican National Convention. It's earlier this year. It happens in Milwaukee next week. What role do you expect Texans to play in this, the Texas delegates?
Well, of course, what actually happens this week is the platform committee starts meeting. It's not part of the convention this year. It's the week before the convention. Donald Trump wants them to write a very short, concise platform that basically says elect Donald Trump. He wants them to eliminate a lot of the other content. There are Texans, Jessica Steinman, as a lawyer from America First Policy. She's one of his people on that committee. You have David Barton, the religious author from Aledo. You also have Adrian Pena-Garza from Hidalgo, from the Valley. So they're going to be working on a platform that Donald Trump wants.
And Ashley, Donald Trump and the GOP itself going into this convention with a lot of momentum.
Indeed, they are. But I think for us here in Texas, I think what we're expecting to see is just kind of more of the same. We've been down this road before. We know former President Trump as a candidate. We know what his base wants to see, what they like to see. And so I'm not expecting a lot of big surprises. I think it's just going to kind of be more of the same.
What are you thinking, Bernadine? What do you expect for this, though? Because like Bud said with the platform itself, the GOP pared that down last time as well in 2020.
Well, I think that since they're going into this convention with such huge momentum, that they're going to drive in that how effective Donald Trump can be. And then they're also going, I think that President Biden is going to be top of the discussion because they're going to want to show that here's what you get. Now, keep in mind, he's going to win Texas.
Donald Trump's going to win
Texas isn't even into play. But he's trying to get these other states. He's trying to get these battleground states, and I think the Democrats are going to have a big role in that because they have success stories, and they're going into this this convention united. Which, when you come back to the state, they're not, but they're going to be. It is former President Donald Trump's convention, and they're going to highlight it.
Bud, she brought up a good point, though. What's happening with Joe Biden right now? The Biden campaign is top of mind for everyone. This has to be addressed at the RNC.
And I don't know. I might be totally wrong about this, but I suspect that if there's a change made at the Democratic ticket, it won't come until after the Republican convention. So they don't give the Republicans a chance to tee off on whoever the new nominee is. The reason I say there might be a change is because Joe Biden says, well, should there be a change? And once you start saying you might quit, you quit.
That's a good point. And then the other big news we're waiting on too, Ashley, is whether, or when rather, Donald Trump's going to announce his vice presidential pick.
Yeah, I think that's the other big thing that a lot of people are waiting to see is what happens with that vice presidential candidate pick. I mean, there's just so many names out there and so many possibilities out there. And it's really seeing who is going to be that person that he selects. You know, of course, there's been talk about certain Texans possibly being in the running. I honestly don't think that's going to happen. I think a lot of Texans are going to be disappointed, right, if that's what they're looking for. But it will be interesting to see who he selects.
And Bernadine, at the end of the day, vice presidential picks really haven't mattered that much. Are they really going to matter at all in Trump's case? Trump is the star of the show here.
That's what I was getting ready to say. You took the words out of my mouth. Because
All right, well, I'll move on to Bud then.
No. Seriously. Is Donald Trump going to take the opportunity to allow someone else to take the spotlight? This is his convention. He wants to be the center of it. If he names that vice president and who he names, they're going to take all the wind. They're going to take all of the wind out of Donald Trump. And he's going to be more focused on maintaining his profile. So even if he names it, it's going to be a very low profile person, but I don't know if he's going to name it during his convention.
Well, he's been focused on picking somebody who might help him win. That's why there's talk of Marco Rubio, maybe. But the bigger lead he has by his convention, the more likely he is to pull up a Senator Vance or someone else who brings the strong religious credentials to the ticket.
And Ashley, let me ask you this briefly.
Just don't think.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, tell me.
I was going to say, don't think that vice presidential candidates don't matter, because I think Sarah Palin showed us that VP candidates do matter and they do play a role.
They do play a role. Yeah, how much they matter certainly is up for debate. But 20 seconds here left. Age is the issue with the Biden campaign, but it's also a thorny issue with Trump since he's 77.
And Trump could have just as bad of a night. Any night between now and November, he could have a night where he's foggy and forgetful. Yeah. That could easily happen.
All right, a busy week ahead. Guys, thanks so much. We appreciate it. Thank you for watching as well. We're back next Sunday to take you inside Texas politics and hope to see you again. Take care.